this is a little bit of a Hay Bay City field trip here in the recording studio of John Bellsmith. This is awesome.
I'm glad to have you here.
I'm so stoked about this room because it's so fun, and you got stickers all over the place and records all over the place. It's just a very inspired space.
Yeah, I'm pretty deeply indebted here.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to get me out. If I ever had to leave, I do not have a basement that will store all of this. Trust me, not even close.
If somebody buys the building, they're also going to have to buy you along with the building.
Or forcefully remove me. Absolutely.
So we're actually on this field trip because you are the host of a radio show.
Yes.
Tell me about this radio show. Tell me how it started. Tell me what it is.
So the radio show is the Hairball John and Friends radio show. And the way that the whole thing started, how far back? You want me to go like when I first listened to metal and I was 3 years old?
Heck yeah, let's do it. No. Coming out of the womb with like a perm.
I know, absolutely. You should see some of the photos. Oh my goodness, you already have. No, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I kind of came of age in the late teens, early 20s in the 80s. And every band in the world was coming through that area. You know, I saw Poison playing a pizza parlor. I saw Guns N' Roses open up for a local band.
Wow.
Seeing 3 shows a week for a long time. I have the bad hearing to prove it. And then I moved to Bay City in 97. And it's kind of a weird thing is that somewhere around 2002, I had a line of T-shirts called Hairball Creations. And Hairball actually has nothing to do with my music or the long hair. It's strictly based on a cartoon character, Bill the Cat from Bloom County. And a friend at one point in time told me, well, you come up with ideas much like this cat comes up with hairballs. Just coughs it up and splat it's there and then moves on to the next. And so that's kind of where Hairball Creations came from. So I had these T-shirts, and then Z93 had Friday Hairballs. Or Friday Hairball, I'm sorry. And they would play a half-hour show of like Bon Jovi, Poison, Doc, and Van Halen. And I thought, well, this is a great tie-in. I have these T-shirts called Hairball Creations, and they have a show that has Hairball in it. So I contacted them and said, is there any chance that you would like to give away some shirts? And they said, sure, why don't you come in and we'll do it on air. I mean, that's like unheard of where I'm from, San Francisco Bay Area.
Right.
And so I just walk in, really. They put me in the studio, and they start talking about some of the music, and I just so happened mentioned a little tidbit about Bon Jovi or something about Van Halen. And then we went into a commercial break and they went, you know this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is ingrained in me. I love this.
It's running through your veins.
Yeah, I've got 5,000 CDs at home. I mean, this is all I do. And they said, well, you should come back. So I started going back on a regular basis, and that's where Hairball John came from. And I'll tell you a funny story that I've probably will never get me on radio again, was the fact that I was so nervous. And I don't like the taste of Mountain Dew, but I was so nervous that I would buy 2 large Mountain Dews, these 20 ounces. I'd pour them out, and I'd stop at the liquor store, and I'd buy 2 Smirnoff Blacks, like the Mike's Hard Lemonade. Yeah. I would pour those back into the Mountain Dew bottles, and I would drink those while I was in there.
Just to take a little bit of the edge off, right?
That's exactly right. And it was a lot of fun. I did that for about 5 or 6 months, and then anybody that's followed the hard rock 80s metal knows that there was a nightclub fire with the band Great White, and 100 people died in that club. I spent most of my life in those type of clubs. It hit me pretty hard. The guys that were hosting the Hairball Friday kind of made a little joke about, and here's a track from the hottest band in the world. It still does. I get chills when I talk about it. And it really, really upset me. And so I left. And I went back into the program director and said, hey, you know what? I think this show can be done better. I think it can be done not mock and roll, but really as rock and roll, and really pay tribute to a great genre of music. And I said, I'd like to program it. And the key word here is program it. I have all the music. I just want to be able to supply it. Yeah. And JD, the program director at the time, he goes, yeah, you can start a week from Sunday. I went, no, I don't do radio. He goes, yeah, it's simple. It's just like ordering food at Applebee's. You're just pushing buttons on a screen. It is not like ordering food at Applebee's. And if it wasn't for the fact that Lynn Roberts, Jay Randall, and Matt, who's still there at Z93, those guys held my hand, listened to me cry. And so the radio show was on at Z93 Sunday nights from 6 to 8. It was called Sunday Night Hairball. It got expanded to a 3-hour show. and it was great that people driving up and down 75 would call in, and I love that, talking with the listeners, playing a lot of stuff that was not necessarily in their system, and took a short hiatus, and then I turned on to a long hiatus, and Bob Hughes out at WIDL in Cass City contacted me about 3 years ago and said, hey, you need to bring it back.
Cool.
So now it's on a couple stations in Michigan and expanding outwards.
What's great about that story is that it really highlights the importance of people helping other people and saying, like, giving other people a shot and an opportunity. I mean, here you come walking into Z93 and they could have like run you out of there and said, like, no, get out of here. We don't want your T-shirts. But it really, the fact that they were open to it really opened up a lot of doors down the road. I mean, you ended up hosting your own radio show, and you're walking into Z93. That's not something that you would have anticipated happening with an armful of T-shirts.
No, not at all. There's a whole lot, like you're saying, that kind of fell into place there. One, I don't think I've ever gone into a radio station without having to be buzzed in through 3 different doors, like in San Francisco Bay Area. You know, so the fact I was able to walk in, they just contact the DJs. They take me back to the booth. When I do get the show, like I said, Lynn, Jay, and Matt help me out. And here they have a guy that has 0 radio experience
Right.
and that did not go to school for it, which they all did. And they're still embracing and helping me do
awesome.
this. It was incredible.
Because they could have taken the approach of almost snobbery and pretentiousness, like, well, we are professionals.
Yeah, and they would have had every right to do that.
Yes.
Because I was playing music and I was not even having to report my playlist. So I had complete control,
Wow,
and that's like
awesome.
a DJ's dream.
Yeah.
And so to be able to do that is super fortunate. Had amazing people that are there, and I will forever be indebted to Z93 and those people.
That's cool.